Yeah, got the flag out, so I bought this flag for this very reason.
Hey Malcolm, how you doing?
All right, how about you?
Good, good.
Maybe the smartest thing to do is vote. So they gave the order to pull, and we watched the building come down.
Now listen, I know that God has come through it.
Toronto truth seekers local.
Today is the 9th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. But what a lot of people don't know on 9/11 was that a third building collapsed. A building that was not hit by a plane. A 47-story office building 300 feet away from the North Tower called World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed at 5:20 p.m. that afternoon. That building was not mentioned in the 9/11 Commission report. I'm holding pictures here of the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7. It collapsed at 5:20 p.m. in the afternoon in 6.6 seconds, which is basically free fall speed. So ask yourself, why have you never heard of the third building that collapsed on 9/11? Why does the mainstream media not tell you about the collapse of this building? The reason is because this is the clearest example of controlled demolition.
Amazing, incredible, pick your word.
If you go on YouTube, go type in World Trade Center Building 7 or WTC 7, you will see the collapse of this third building.
All facts, evidence right there.
The planes that hit those buildings did not cause them to collapse. Fire does not cause steel frame buildings to fall. The reason the Twin Towers and Building 7 collapsed was because they were brought down in a controlled demolition.
Yeah, that's, was it 4 days after the actual 9/11 attacks?
So this is like the evidence that you've been collecting archives since the start?
Oh yeah, right from the start, yeah, for sure. But it didn't dawn on me to question until maybe 2004 to start doing it, because a friend of mine was telling me that the Bush administration are terrorists. And I thought, no way, I don't believe that for a second.
Where is it? There's one. Where's this? Them hauling the steel away. Hold on. Where is it? Because that was illegal. They illegally hauled it away.
So a lot of these pictures were taken off the internet, and some of them are from last year when we were giving them out for free. So yeah, they're from the FEMA photographer and the U.S. military.
Wow.
No, just 9/11, other issues like she joined me.
That's Silverstein.
You know about
Fire does not shatter steel structures. Only happened 3 times in history on 9/11. Yeah, that's Building 7. This woman came on the BBC News World saying that Building 7 had collapsed. However, Building 7 is still there.
Actually, FEMA was at Manhattan the day before, on the 10th of September, ready to go to work. Wow. So that's what they were doing.
It's very important that people look into 9/11. This is kind of, the foundation for where we're at today. What we saw in Toronto during the G20, the entire police state apparatus couldn't even happen without them constantly, through the media and through culture itself, just constantly putting that, shoving that down our throat. The idea that, radical people halfway around the world can completely circumvent the U.S. security apparatus and hijack, airplanes and crash them into buildings. It's a ridiculous story, and yet it's used constantly over and over again as an excuse for clamping down on rights, civil rights, and relying on the state to provide us with security, which is completely an illusion.
And the thing is, you got Afghanistan and Iraq. Afghanistan, the drugs, Iraq, the oil. And of course, war needs oil to operate and weapons.
I thought I refuted that very clearly.
Next on the agenda is Iran to start World War III.
And DVDs that expose the truth.
You wait for the next 9/11?
Canadian issues, fluoride in the water, how Canada's losing our rights.
I bought this flag specific for this day. And yeah, I just feel bad about what happened. Innocent people died all for a war because America has one God. Guns, oil, and drugs. And that's all that's happening in the Middle East right now.
Another reason why I think that Flight 93 was shot down is because there was a fighter squadron that came in just prior to 9/11, and the pilot for the aircraft that shot down Flight 93 was Major Rick Gibney of the Happy Hooligans, who on Flight 93 had Flight 93 in its path, in its flight path, and shot 2 Sidewinder missiles into Flight 93 and shot it down out of the sky. So that's why there are no parts in that crater, nothing. All the parts, everything was scattered through an 8-mile area. So that's why, because there were quite a few witnesses to that they saw pieces of aircraft speared all over 8 miles of area. So it didn't crash into the ground at the Pentagon, which I seen on CNN earlier this morning, which that's based on a lie. So
look at where the money goes. Follow the money trail, right? 100%. But right here, man, got to investigate 9/11. 9 years later, we're still doing the work. Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
You know what? Don't focus on that. Whoever does the will of God is my mother and my brother.
They knew 2 months before 9/11, Bush got a memo saying Bin Laden determined to attack the United States. So we know on record when they do have the opportunity to stop terrorism, they never do. They let it happen.
There you go. 9/11 definitely an inside job. Another thing that I think was an inside job is that Flight 93, what the media said that was crashed into the ground in Pennsylvania. A reporter that was reporting it said that he saw nothing there. No plane parts, no body parts, nothing.
To the face of terror, face of fear. The thing is, Bin Laden was reported dead 5 different times between now and I think it was 2007-ish, and he's been popped up again as if he's got 9 lives or something. Yet his name has not appeared on the FBI's most wanted poster.
No, it doesn't mention he did 9/11, the crimes for that. But he was a CIA operative, so they didn't want to me, they wouldn't want to blame him for the 9/11 attacks because they need him in the future.
The FBI was totally, they had an inside guy on the 93 bomb. You know that?
Oh, yes, apparently.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Dan!
Yeah.
How are ya?
The biggest street action trial truth seekers I think I've seen.
Since last anniversary?
What do you think about the word out on 9/11, though? You think a lot of people are turning to the truth, or what do you think?
I think more and more people are starting to become aware of there's certain questions that are unanswered. I mean, you don't have to believe in everything necessarily, but there's a lot of unanswered questions. And, people know that, and they want the answers.
And are you with We Are Change?
Yeah, We Are Change London.
It was obviously an inside job. If you can show me the plane, it would hit the Pentagon.
We have this blurry image here, released 5 years after the fact. If I was convicted of a crime of this proportion, I come up with the evidence the next day, honestly. And there's, from what I heard, about 250 video cameras around the Pentagon that were confiscated. Now, why were they confiscated and released this footage, not the one with the missile, but the blurry image, 5 years later?
There was no plane that hit the Pentagon, so how could it not be an inside job? You can look and you can see, and there's a tiny little hole, and there's no massive 747 plane, so I think that was the most obvious cue to show that it was an inside job.
All I can say is investigate 9/11 because the facts add up, and you can look at firefighters for 9/11 Truth, architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. So if you don't believe me, it doesn't matter because it's not my theories. So just look into the facts for yourself, and you'll find out what's going on. Okay?
And look into Building 7. There's a lot of evidence there as well. Simple things like that can lead a trail to other things that you can look online and figure out the truth if you're not quite aware yet. There's a lot out there, trust me. Take care.
9/11 was an inside job. Thank you.
I think the most relevant stories is to pay attention to the facts. So we got Operation Northwoods on record, a Pentagon plan on record to hijack airplanes and crash them into buildings in American cities and to blame it on a pretext on a country to go to war. So if you type in ABC News, Operation Northwoods, that will show you an actual government plan to create terrorism in U.S. cities and kill Americans on record. Then we have a Bush Bin Laden meeting on 9/11. So Bush Sr. was having breakfast with Bin Laden's brother, and that was at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. They were in the business of the Carlyle Group.
You can be rich on Obama dollars.
Can I grab one?
Yeah. You know they're not worth anything.
I know. Can I have one of them bills? Sure. Have you seen the Obama deception?
Yeah, that's excellent. I've seen that. We have Full the Republic, which is a sequel.
And you see, they went into Iraq, they went into Afghanistan, not for democracy, but for God, their God. Guns, oil, and drugs. The same thing they went into Vietnam. The same thing they went into Vietnam. JFK knew it, Martin Luther King knew it.
We're here with Toronto Truth Seekers. We're at Yonge-Dundas Square. How long have you been around with the truth movement in Toronto?
Yeah, I've been very familiar with the Toronto truth scene for probably the last 4 or 5 years now, at least, probably back to about 2006 or so when it was just budding at the time. And you know, a lot of people have come and gone with the movement as it does. You know, it's hard to completely dedicate your entire life to this kind of thing, but it is important to at least try and to put in some time to getting the word out.
If you watch Truth Rising, you'll notice that Mayor Giuliani said that those towers were gonna collapse. He knew it.
9/11, it's the linchpin, I believe, the linchpin in this whole global cabal. I believe 9/11 truth will end the wars, and simple as that. Both wars are based on a lie. We can bring 9/11 truth to the mainstream. We can end the wars, bring our troops home, and I'll start taking care of responsibilities here at home.
Let's get out there and play some hockey.
We're on the streets here. We got Dan Dix here. Where it's September 11th. What's your words on 9/11? What's the truth you're seeing on?
Today it's been a good turnout. We have a lot of members of TorontoTruthSeekers.com, Press for Truth people, and others coming out to show their support about, you know, this is 9 years now since the attacks of September 11th. So we're here together, standing in solidarity together, because it's extremely important to get information out about what happened, what didn't happen, and that's why we're here today.
For real, and we got a Building What campaign going on. I think people are trying to get the word out on Building 7. I guess, do you have any thing that you'd like to point out on September 11th?
I mean, that's awesome that they're doing that, because that really is the smoking gun of 9/11 is Building 7, so it's crucial to get that out. It's unfortunate mainstream media is not necessarily covering that. They've obviously been paying a lot of attention to this Quran book burning thing. I mean, this guy has a congregation of like 50 people. Meanwhile, you know, the coverage of it has been absolutely insane, and it takes away from the fact that there are truth groups all over the place trying to push for a new independent investigation, and it gets people the idea that it was done by Muslim extremists back into the people's minds. So you know, we're here to try to counter their propaganda.
For real, just trying to get the word out on September 11th, the 9th anniversary of 9/11. But I think, was it last year that you were in New York? What was that story?
Yeah, I've gone a couple times now to New York to just show my support. Luke Rudowski's done some amazing events, and I would really strongly encourage anybody who has not done that yet, who has not actually visited Ground Zero, who has gone down there to show their support to do so. And next year, of course, is going to be the 10th anniversary, so that'd be a good time to go.
I think 9/11 itself is a conspiracy theory, so for anybody out there who wants to say that, you know, people who are trying to tell people the truth about 9/11, this is conspiracy fact. The official story itself is a conspiracy theory and needs to be reinvestigated, because there are so many questions that pile up against their official story that at this point it's like piling up a mountain against a molehill of information, and eventually that mountain is going to crush this molehill, so it's just a matter of time before this thing implodes.
And we're not going to shut up. We're going to spread the truth. Alternative media is going to take over mainstream media. We got The Real News. We got Press for Truth. We got Infowars.com.
What's your website?
And
Toronto Truth Seekers.
currently it's TorontoTruthSeekers.com.
TorontoTruthSeekers.com.